Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a totally fascinating puzzle at the very heart of India's massive ambitions in the global energy market, specifically resuming in on GAIL. That's the Gas Authority of India Limited. They're a major state-owned enterprise, and they're basically turning billions of dollars of dreams into reality to fuel the country's future. They are the fastest emerging gas company in India, and get this, they have an absolutely massive, state-of-the-art LNG vessel arriving next year. It's actually a joint venture with a huge U.S. shipping company, marking India's first truly serious presence in global LNG shipping. But, well, having the biggest ship doesn't actually mean much if you literally don't have a place to park it.
Just take a second to wrap your head around this number. 1,880,000 cubic meters. That is the staggering capacity of GAIL's new ship. I mean, it is an absolute behemoth out there on the ocean. To put that into perspective, it's designed to bring in unbelievable quantities of liquefied natural gas to power our industries and homes. It's a huge flex, right? It proves India is ready to play in the big leagues of energy transport. But here is where the story takes a pretty wild turn.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the shocking reality it points to. Something you really won't find in those standard, dry analyst reports, but it completely defines India's LNG ambitions. See, GAIL actually has its own terminal in Dabhol, Maharashtra, and every single year, for 3 whole months, this multi-million-dollar terminal shuts down, completely. It literally suspends operations entirely from June to September. Why? Because during the monsoon season, this incredibly expensive state-of-the-art ship simply cannot stop there.
Which brings us to Section 1, the 3-month shutdown. Let's look at exactly why this happens.
So, these LNG ships are basically giant floating cryogenic containers holding liquid gas at a freezing -162 degrees Celsius. To unload something that volatile safely, you need an incredibly stable environment, perfectly calm water. And that requires a crucial piece of maritime engineering called a breakwater. It's a physical structure built right out in the sea that intercepts those rough, angry waves and stops them dead, creating a nice, calm pool where ships can dock safely. But here's the massive oversight at the Dabhol terminal. They just don't have one. And during the monsoon, the Arabian Sea gets furious. The waves are so high, it's physically impossible for these specialized ships to safely dock from June through September.
Without a breakwater to tame those waves, a multi-million-dollar ship arriving at Dabhol faces a pretty bleak set of options. Step 1, you just drop anchor in the open sea and wait, which is, incredibly dangerous and incredibly expensive. Step 2, you divert to a totally different port, completely messing up your logistics. Or Step 3, the absolute worst-case scenario, you just turn around and return to the ocean with your cargo totally undelivered. Because of this missing infrastructure, this massively expensive terminal sits entirely idle for 25% of the year. Gas unloading drops to absolute zero.
Moving on to Section 2, the cost of waiting. While GAIL is actively out there striking deals with Japan, Korea, and Singapore for even more ships, bringing them to unready ports triggers some severe financial consequences.
Okay, let's dive into this critical shipping industry term, demurrage. In shipping, time is quite literally money. When a ship arrives and the port isn't ready, maybe it's rough waves, maybe it's that missing breakwater, the ship just sits there, and the company responsible has to pay a daily financial penalty for keeping that ship waiting instead of unloading its cargo. You ordered the ship, it's here, but you can't take delivery. It's a massive financial bleed.
And this penalty, it's absolutely staggering. We're talking $100,000 to $200,000 a day per ship. That is easily over 1 crore of rupees just vanishing into thin air every single day a ship sits idle. And you know who ultimately pays for this? State-owned entities like GAIL, Petronet LNG, or Indian Oil Corporation. Meaning, at the end of the day, this massive logistical failure is directly burning everyday taxpayer money.
So GAIL is scrambling now, right? They're finally spending 700 crore rupees to build an offshore concrete breakwater. But this perfectly highlights the massive risk of what we call reactive spending. You build the terminal, realize years later it doesn't work for 1/4 of the year, and only then spend 700 crores trying to fix it. The really scary part is that GAIL's new ships start arriving by 2027. Building a world-class breakwater takes years of environmental clearances and heavy construction. There's a very real chance these ships are going to arrive before the port upgrades are even finished.
Let's zoom out to Section 3, a nationwide infrastructure gap. Because while Gujarat's Dahej terminal is smooth and world-class, it's pretty much the exception to a very frustrating systemic pattern across the country.
Take a look at this dismal reality at the Kochi terminal, operated by another state entity. Despite taking on massive loans and building mountains of metal infrastructure, this terminal has never crossed a 25% capacity utilization rate. Over 75% of its capacity has literally just sat there rusting and completely unused for over 6 to 7 years. It is an unbelievable amount of wasted potential and capital.
So the crucial point is, why does this happen? Well, it's a multi-layered logistical failure. Sometimes there's no local gas demand, or the pipeline connectivity to move the gas inland is completely missing. Sometimes port handling charges are just too high, or as we just saw, the port infrastructure itself isn't ready. With these massive new ships arriving by 2027, these uncoordinated failures across different ports guarantee an absolute logistics nightmare if they aren't fixed immediately.
Let's frame this as a head-to-head race in Section 4, India versus China. Because back in 2010, China embarked on a very similar LNG journey.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. China achieved incredible success through total coordination. They synchronized their ships, their ports, their pipelines, and their domestic pricing grids so it all grew together in perfect sync. The result? They became the world's largest LNG importer by 2024. India, though, we have a highly reactive, fragmented approach. The massive ships are arriving, sure, but the downstream pipeline networks and the pricing remain a total mystery. We are essentially building the roof of a house before we've even poured the foundation.
Which brings us to our final point, Section 5, the coordinated path forward.
Look, GAIL is definitely solving one major piece of this energy puzzle by getting the ships and securing the gas. But getting it to our shores is only step one. Without strict, seamless synchronization between the government, private sector, the ports, and the pipelines, everyday citizens are going to bear the ultimate cost through wasted potential and massive demurrage fees. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to really weigh in on. Is India's infrastructure planning facing a genuine, deep-seated structural problem? Or is this just the messy, chaotic beginning of what will eventually become a massive growth story? Let us know what you think about how your taxpayer money is being utilized. Thanks for watching this explainer, and we'll catch you next time as we decode more of these systemic issues.